Hi there. Today, as you know, yesterday I bought the ingredients for Japchae. So today I'm going to make this dish. As you see here, the final result. I got this recipe from the steamykitchen.com website. Basically, I hope you guys enjoy it. So the Japchae recipe will require half of this sweet potato noodles, because this is basically 500 grams of sweet potato noodles. And the recipe is asking me for half a pound, so I'm going to use about half of this package. I also have 3/4 of an onion that I've thinly sliced, and also 2 carrots that have been julienned. So I julienne 2 carrots, and I also added some, for some color, I took 1 bell red capsicum and I sliced that also in 1-inch strips. You also need 2 cloves of garlic. So those are the 2 cloves of garlic. And you'll need basically 3 scallions that are cut into basically 1-inch strips. So those are the scallions, or it's also known as green onion. And then I have my mushrooms over here, which is basically half a cup of mushrooms that have been sliced. Remember, the mushrooms will get large after you dip them in the water, so make sure that you account for that change in size. And it requires half a pound of spinach that's washed well. So here's the spinach. And I washed it well. To wash it well, you just soak the spinach in a bowl of water or in the sink, and then strain it. Then you have washed spinach. This recipe also requires some other seasonings, basically some soy sauce. In this case, I'm using some organic tamari Japanese soy sauce. And you'll need about 2 tablespoons. You'll also need 2 teaspoons of sugar. So I'm going to just use some white sugar. And you'll also need about 2.5 teaspoons of sesame oil. And I'm using the Korean sesame oil. And you'll need some sesame seeds, which you'll need 1 teaspoon. And of course some cooking oil. So the first step is to take a large pot of boiling water, which you can see the water here is boiling, and to take the Korean sweet potato noodles, which is about half a pound. If you recall that bag, the noodles are pretty long, so what you'll have to do is you'll have to end up taking the kitchen shears and cutting the noodles into basically into a quarter, so you'll have 4 quarters. So I'm going to take these noodles and add them to the water and cook them for about 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes of cooking the noodles, I'm going to drain these noodles in a colander, and I'm going to rinse it with cold water. So here are the drained and rinsed noodles, and I'm going to add some sesame oil, basically about a teaspoon of sesame oil, and I'm going to mix that in so the noodles don't stick together, and it will give it a good sesame taste. So in this step, I basically have taken, for step number 2, I've taken in a bowl, I've mixed the 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and I put about 2 teaspoons of sugar, and I've mixed these both together. So the first step in step 3 is to take the onions, which I'm going to take, that's about 3/4 of an onion, and also the carrots, and fry those until they are soft. So I'm going to put in the carrots and the onion. So basically I'm going to fry this carrot and this onion here for about a minute. I have it set to about medium heat on the grill. So I'm going to do this for about 1 minute. So as you can see in this step, I've added the mushrooms and the garlic and the green onion, and I've also added the red capsicum here. So I'm going to fry these until they're soft. I'm going to fry all of these ingredients, and if you recall, everything here is medium heat. So basically, before we put the spinach in with the japchae, we want to take another frying pan and we want to cook the spinach. So I'm going to cook the spinach in some vegetable oil. And cook that for a while, and then the spinach over here is almost done cooking, so I'm going to mix in some sesame oil, and then I'm going to put this into the japchae. So there's sesame oil. So I'm just going to mix this in. So I'm going to take the spinach which I've already prepared in another frying pan. I'm going to add that to the mix, and I'm also going to take our sugar and soy sauce mixture and put that also in the frying pan. And I'm going to cook this for about a minute or so until I get all of the sauce and everything all mixed in together, so everything's all nice and layered. So my version of japchae, I'm using it as a main dish. So I've added some protein here, which basically I've taken some thinly sliced sirloin meat, and I've marinated it with some salt and pepper and some garlic. You can also add sugar and some sesame oil here. And basically I've pre-cooked it. So I'm going to add this to the mixture so it gets some of that sauce that I put in the sugar and the soy. So here you can see all the ingredients are all melding in together. So the next step, I'm going to put my sweet potato noodles. I'm going to mix that, fold it in, and basically in 2 to 3 minutes we should go for the final step. So I basically put this in a serving dish, the japchae, and so the final 2 ingredients is 1.5 tablespoons of sesame seed oil and 1 tablespoon of the sesame seeds. So I'm going to mix this all together with the japchae. So here's the final product. I'm basically dished it out. The japchae is probably a good 5 servings when you're done cooking. This is actually a pretty large serving of japchae, and I'm going to eat it with some kimchi that I have over here as a side. I have some other sides I'll probably place later, and I'll probably also eat it with a little bit of rice. So basically, that's how to make japchae. Some final thoughts. After going through this recipe, I would probably add a little bit more sugar. This recipe called for basically some soy sauce and some sugar. I would actually double the sugar and maybe double the soy sauce, or maybe increase the proportion of the sugar. I tend to like more of a sugary taste of my japchae. So that's probably something that you might want to experiment with in your dish. Right now it has a very sesame oil taste to it, which is pretty good, but I would like a little bit more sweetness to my japchae. That's probably the only thing I would change with this recipe, and probably put more carrots. Seems to need more carrots and probably a little bit more onion. And probably not cook down the onion so it's too translucent. So those are my thoughts on this recipe. Please join me back. I'll probably try to cook some other stuff in the future. Thanks.